Hello, welcome. I am Dr. Toni. Glad to have you here today. Today, I want to talk about the impacts that life coaching can have on your life at work and at home. Now, this is really important because coaching as a field is and has been growing. However, the value of investing in life coaching is not necessarily understood by the majority of folks, especially those who may benefit from it the most. And so I know me as a therapist, I had an adverse reaction at first to coaching. And so, what I did, I had to check my own biases. And as I put my own biases in check, I realized that coaching allowed me to expand my reach to really be able to connect with my leaders, my achievers, and those that are influencing our systems the most in such a powerful way beyond what I'm able to do in my therapy office. And so I still love my therapy practice. I continue to practice, but therapy and coaching are not the same. Okay, so stick around and see if the impact of life coaching on your work life, on your home life, if this resonates with you and if this is the route for you to take. All right. The mission here at Dr. Tony Coaches is to inspire and enact meaningful change. And that's through personal and professional development by helping individuals and companies, because companies are made up of individuals, right? To incorporate the effective tools and to experience the shifts that are needed in order to navigate the stressors of work and life with more clarity and more balance. And what happens is, as a result, more people can then live and lead and love with increased confidence, with deeper impact, with more ease, and all of that without sacrificing who or what matters most to them. So, your health, your relationships, all of those pieces in life that matter most to you. You don't have to keep sacrificing them or feeling like you're overwhelmed. And what this does, that positive ripple effect of this work, then goes on to impact our families and our businesses and our systems in an even greater way. This is the mission. That is why I'm here. That is why I want to talk to you. That's why I'm so passionate about what I do. So I'm going to speak now directly to my achievers, my leaders, my high performers. You know who you are. You've got goals, you've got dreams, you're highly capable. Now, if this is you, some or all of this is probably going to resonate with you. On paper, it looks like you are a success and that happiness should be yours. But in reality, it's not really feeling that way. You're really good at what you do. You've worked really hard to get to where you're at so far, to get this far, but something's feeling off and you're not understanding why. If you've worked so hard, if you've pushed yourself so hard, why have you gotten here and still felt like something is off or there's something more, or it's just not enough? And so you're often feeling busy and pulled in many directions. You don't want to have to sacrifice your work. You don't want to have to sacrifice your relationships. But at this point, you're not really sure what else you can do differently to reduce the strain of this constant push and pull and busyness. And so what gives? What can you do? Well, you want more fulfillment, you want less stress, you want more clarity about how to move forward without continuously, constantly, chronically overextending yourself more and more and more. And so, if any of this connects with you, I want you to know you're definitely in good company, you're in the right place. I am there with you. I am an achiever myself. I have been to burnout in the past more than once. And so, I'm going to share with you today in our brief time together how these growing issues that we just addressed in the former slide and how unmanaged stressors are impacting you, your life, and your health, and why stress issues like these are negatively affecting your relationships, your work, and so on and so forth, and how you can actually use this valuable information to reverse the challenges that are happening in your own life, as well as your interactions with other people. Okay. And then I'm going to answer the question of what all of this means for businesses and organizations that may choose to invest in wellness programs and life coaching for themselves as leaders or for their staff. All right. And I want to make sure that you have an understanding of the process that I use, how it works, and how you can use it yourself. Now, let me just be very clear. Us achievers often can believe that stress is not really something that affects us too much, that we've got it. We can deal with lots of stress. And so we'll be good. But the reality is that you are not an exception to the impact of stress. And the longer you deny that, the more the stress is going to build up and it's going to impact you. And in the long run, it will get worse. It will not get better if it's not addressed. Now, for some, the way they see the impact or feel the impact of stress the most in their lives is in relationships. Perhaps that's through communication issues or a lot of conflict in your relationships, or maybe conflict avoidance with relationships, or maybe the sense of feeling lonely or disconnected, or perhaps there's passive aggression that's existing in your relationships, which never feels good. Or maybe you feel it more physically. Maybe there's less energy, or there's a lot of sleep struggles, that insomnia or that restlessness at night, that racing mind, or perhaps it's body aches and pains. Maybe there's a lot of tension that you feel in your body, or maybe there's a lot of tension in your body that you're trying not to feel, you're not paying attention to. Likely there's a lower immune system because chronic stress is shown to lower our immune systems. Perhaps there's an increased heart rate, restlessness, appetite, or weight shifts that you are struggling with physically. For others, there's a huge impact in the mind. Now, stress is going to impact all of these areas, but the one you feel it the most is going to be unique into you. And so for your minds, perhaps there's this difficulty with focusing or concentrating, or maybe a lot of worried thoughts, or this foggy brain, a lot of confusion, or maybe hypervigilance, hyper focused. Maybe there's a lot of attitude and perspective areas that you're feeling this impact of the stress in the most, where there's a lot of cynicism, skepticism. Maybe you're overly critical or passive aggressive. Maybe you have less patience, or you're feeling more negative or more irritable than you would like to. Perhaps there's a sense of feeling overly concerned or overly cautious, or maybe on the other end, callous, right? And then there's the feelings, which a lot of achieving folks don't even have time to deal with, right? But the truth is, we have to. And so if you're feeling a sense of irritability, anger, overwhelmment, resentment, disengagement, this mental and emotional exhaustion or nervousness, that is the impact of stress coming up through and out your emotions. This is really important because how all of that stress is impacting you is actually going to impact how you interact with other people. I call this the rippling effect. How you are doing, how you are functioning, how you are feeling, how you are being, how you are living has a rippling effect on those you interact with at home and beyond. Because here's you, okay? I'll give you a little visual. Here's you, you're in the middle, you're having your own experience, physically, mentally, emotionally, all those pieces that we went through on the prior slide. But you are nestled within another system of relationships with family members, with friends, with coworkers or staff, with community or neighborhood members, right? And so, how the stress is impacting you as an individual is going to show up in some way, no matter how hard you try. It's going to show up in some way in your interactions with these folks around you, in your surrounding communities. And then, even more so, you, your family, your friends, your work, your community, you are nestled within an even larger system. Think our world, our nation, even politics, okay? And so, how you show up and you interact within each of these systems is going to be impacted by how you as an individual are feeling and are impacted by stress. Does that make sense? I'm going to break it down for you a little bit more, okay? Because I want you to know that even if you are getting stuff done, okay, you're pushing yourself really hard, you're showing up, and you're getting stuff done. The effects of the stress or the anxiety, the overwhelm, the burnout, the frustration, so on and so forth, they show up in your interactions with others in some way. They do. And if you're feeling stressed and you're denying that it's impacting you, let's talk. Let's talk so we can become more aware of what may be happening for you. So if you are, for example, maybe worrying a lot, stuck in your head a lot, maybe you're stressed a lot, feel tired a lot, often annoyed, maybe you're feeling anxious very often, or maybe you're just always too busy, or you're physically drained. If that's how you are feeling internally, if that's your experience more often than not, then how you show up with your family, your friends, your work, your community, your neighborhood, well, maybe you'll show up more short tempered, okay, more short tempered with your partner. Or maybe you'll show up as less present with your kids, or maybe just not enough time to be with them the way you would like to be. Or maybe there's struggles with colleagues. They're not understanding you, or you're just not feeling understood by them. Or maybe they're too dependent on you. So the boundaries are blurred. And so they're coming to you for too much, too often, being relied on too much. Or maybe you're feeling that there's less time to actually engage in interactions with friends that feel good or to have any kind of leisurely activities, or maybe there's just guilt to do that, to spend time with friends or to enjoy in something leisurely. Or perhaps there's this disconnect or codependent relationships that you're experiencing in your friendships or otherwise. So you see how you are feeling as an individual is going to impact how you are showing up in this next system and these relationships and those environments with others. And then, even larger, if we look at those larger systems, the world, the nation, politics, and so on, perhaps because you are in this place of worrying a lot or stressed, tired, annoyed, perhaps when you interact with and consider the larger systems, there's a lot more anger about the state of things, but much less time for advocacy or to do anything about it. Or maybe there's more irritation about the way that our systems are set up, maybe just even your systems at work, right? A lot of political red tape, maybe that's bothering you and that's you're really irritated about, but you have less patience to actually make them better in a productive way. Or maybe you're generally just feeling disconnected or irritated by anything or anyone that is different than what you know or what you think should be. And that's going to cause challenges with other people or areas that are more diverse and so on and so forth. And so those won't be able to be effectively resolved if you're in this place of frustration, stress, worry, annoyance, and so on and so forth. Makes sense, right? When we leave the individual challenges of feeling stressed out, too busy, worrying, all of those stressful pieces, okay, when we leave those unaddressed, they don't go away. They actually grow, they get bigger. And we can show you that in our statistics. As of the date of this recording, more recent statistics say that unmanaged chronic stress, ongoing lack of balance, and this avoiding all of these symptoms that I just shared on the prior slides is actually very common. Okay. A lot of people are not managing chronic stress, even though they're feeling it a lot. A lot of people are not knowing how or feel like they don't have time to create some semblance of balance in their lives. And so they're avoiding all of these signs that are happening with them, with their physical, mental, emotional natures. And so, what this does is it can create or exacerbate mental health issues, and it actually reduces our overall quality of life significantly. Stats at the time of this recording are showing that there's over 40 million adults in the US that are struggling with anxiety, many of which are trying to manage them alone. And there is over 16 million US adults struggling with depression, which is actually the number one cause of disability. And unfortunately, depression and anxiety are often seen together and then they exacerbate one another, making that even more challenging. And burnout is a global health crisis now. It's no longer just considered some far off issue. It is now considered a global public health crisis with over two-thirds of full-time US workers reporting that they're struggling with burnout in some way. And those rates continue to rise. So who knows what they are at the moment, at this very moment, and who knows what they will be when you're listening to this recording. But I can tell you that we're not seeing an improvement here yet. We are seeing these numbers continue to rise. So we need to do something about it. And what we can do is take what I just shared with you, that how you show up and how you're feeling and the amount of stress that you're under and how it's impacting you, how that can ripple out and negatively affect your relationships with those around you at work and at home. We can actually take that information and use it to our benefit and begin to see that as we make some positive improvements to help you feel better as an individual, that can actually ripple out and affect the systems around you in a positive and healthy way. So if you are starting to feel more clear minded, more energized, more supported, more present, more well rested, confident, and focused, you're going to show up better performing, more motivated at work. You're going to be more able to be present and connected with your partner. You're going to have more fun and connection with your kids, or better able to communicate with your colleagues or your staff. You're going to feel more balanced and fulfilled, not just in your relationships, but in your life. And you're going to feel more enjoyment and recharging from time with friends or in leisurely activities. And so, what exactly this is going to look like will differ from person to person. Everyone's lived experience is a bit different, but regardless, there is a rippling effect, and that is just true. And so, when you see the positive ripple effect of this and how it can impact those around you, You can even spread that out to the larger systems. Like maybe you'll have more time for advocacy and you'll feel more hopeful for the state of things. Or perhaps you'll be able to be in a more creative state of mind, because we know a stressed out mind cannot be super creative. And so if we're less stressed, we can be more creative and then connect more to support the systemic changes that we want to see happen, maybe in your work life, or maybe just in the larger system in general, or even just with charitable causes that matter to you. And when this all happens, we're better able to resolve issues, right? With other people, maybe that we have differences with or that we're not understanding. We can help fill the gaps in communication in a larger level as well, because differences are unavoidable. And so we need to be able to better manage them. All that makes sense, right? But what does this have to do with businesses, right? What does this mean for businesses? I'm talking about individuals. Well, businesses are created and upheld by people. And so when unmanaged wellness is going on with your staff, with your leaders in the business, that creates problems with retention rates because people leave or because of disability, lower focus and lower performance. There's problems with toxicity in environments or difficult relationships with colleagues. There is a lower creativity and a much less willingness to express ideas or ask questions. And there's actually more absenteeism because of illness or just dissatisfaction with work. And then there's less engagement and motivation overall. So we can see that unmanaged wellness does create problems for businesses because it creates problems for people. And so when we manage wellness, what we see is an enhancement. Okay, there's an enhancement with not having so many retention rate issues. There's better focus and better performance. The environment tends to shift and to feel better for those that are there and that want to be there. Relationships are enhanced. And then there's more of a willingness to express ideas, to ask questions, and more room to foster creativity. And absenteeism becomes less of an issue because there's overall less illness and more satisfaction with work and life. And then engagement and motivation increase as well. So as you can see, it's a win-win. But Dr. Toni, if this is such a common challenge, how can you help, right? If so many people are struggling with anxiety, overwhelm, stress, so what can you really do about it? Well, listen, there is the time management piece, there is the stress management piece, which a lot of people think if they just address those pieces, everything will be fixed. But that's not the case. Time and stress management is part of it, but it's not enough. We need to actually hit three different tiers. We need to be able to facilitate effective, meaningful, sustainable behavior change. And that means habits, that means addressing your decision making and all of the pieces that are contributing to that, which is where the psychological comes in. I call this the powerful parts, okay? We need to address the perspective, the attitude, and the emotion management that most people simply are not taught how to address. And so with my skill set as a clinician and a decade of other experience as well, it enables me to be able to support individuals with this perspective, attitude, and emotion management different than most any other coach that's out there. And then also you need quality support. This is your accountability system. It allows you to feel that momentum to stick with it and to be able to maintain the progress that you make. All of those components are necessary. You can't skip any of them. You need the practical pieces like the behavior change and the powerful pieces like the psychological in order to get your desired results. And that's what I do. But how, right? Like, all right, fine. That kind of makes sense conceptually, but how would you provide that? Well, I offer tiered services. That way, I can meet people at various levels of need. Some individuals are quite content with self discipline to go ahead and do the self paced courses that I provide, be it on motivation or time management and things of that nature. They can go ahead, just use a self paced course, and that will walk you through all the bits and pieces that you need in a digestible, broken down manner for you to incorporate in your life. But a lot of people need additional support. And if businesses are ready to invest in the wellness of their staff, because you see the power and the benefits of doing that, we can do presentations and wellness programs that are going to be able to address the needs that you have so that you can incorporate the services, the supports, the resources, the lessons, the mindset shifts, all of those pieces in your life through support, not just from me, but then also from your place of employment, because if they are investing in wellness, then they care about your wellness. All right. And they want to see you do well, whether you're a leader or whether you are a staff member. And then I also have one to one high touch coaching, and that's for individuals that are really motivated to get started and to make that transformation happen in their lives sooner rather than later. And this is really the number one way to work with me if you want to engage in that transformation, because you get me in your back pocket and I get to answer questions in a very personalized, highly individualized manner. So I will be there with you. Now, who am I even to share any of this information with you? Well, I'll just give a brief overview of some of my training and experience. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I have well over a decade of studying human behavior and psychology with ongoing professional development, incorporating up to date research on things like mental health, human behavior, brain science, burnout, leadership, and so on and so forth. I'm also a practicing psychotherapist. And I'm a former behavior specialist consultant for families and for children. And I am trained with mindfulness based stress reduction strategies. I am brain spotting and peak performance trained, as well as trauma and neuroscience informed. And so that's just a bit of an overview of some of my training and experience. And I do want you to know that therapy and coaching are not the same. Therapy is for clinical treatment. It is a medical based model, and there's absolutely a time and place for therapy. And then there's a time and a place for coaching. Here's a few testimonies about individuals that have worked with me. This is a one to one client I worked with. She's amazing. She was in burnout and needed to get out of it. She said, I feel significant positive shifts in myself. Before the program, I felt exhausted, stressed at my job, which carried over to my home life, disconnected with my relationships, and very critical and negative towards myself on top of all of it. My program, The Balance Blueprint, it helped her to deeply explore her thoughts and feelings, her relationships, even her core values, her schedules, her organization, time management, and boundaries. And so now she's feeling more loving, compassionate, accepting, and forgiving of herself and even of others. She has a renewed sense of dedication to creating her ideal life, following through with her plans, decreasing her stress levels, and establishing boundaries at work, home, and in her relationships. Because her life now aligns with her values, she's more intentional about her time, and that leads her to feel more fulfilled every day. And I can tell you, this client showed up for herself. She showed up for her program, and she allowed me to support her. And that's what allowed her to get those amazing results. And they're available to you as well. Another client, this was a former Reset participant, and the Reset is a signature self paced course that I have for individuals that want to go through the programming on their own. And that is really focused on gaining clarity so that they can move forward towards their goals and feel less stuck. This participant said the ability to challenge yourself and to allow the answers to create a meaningful and different mindset that will help you be a better you is what their experience was there. And last testimony I'd like to share with you here today is from a business client. She said our company had Toni come in during the height of COVID to help our team keep a steady and healthy work life balance during their transition to remote work under the stay at home orders. Tony helped us to focus on the things that we can control and not to dwell on the things that we can't control. We also talked about creating daily time for you and to find something in your routine that brings you joy and gratefulness and grab onto it. We've now been working at home for over 3 months, still with high productivity and high morale. And I believe that the tactics and the easy to understand practical steps shared by Tony in her presentation have been a major contributor to our work from home success. And so you can see just from these few testimonials that the practical and the powerful truly are brought in, both of them, because you need both of them in order to get those desired results. And so what I would invite you to do is, if any of this resonates with you, or if it's bringing up some excitement in you, oh yes, there's a possibility for change for me, go ahead and check out my website, drtonycoaches.com. And if you want to connect because you know you want to go further, whether as an individual or a business, you can just hit the schedule a consult button. You're going to get a free consultation with me. We'll discuss what your needs are, what your goals are, what's getting in the way, and if I can be a support to you. If I can't, I'll point you in the direction that will be a support to you. And if I can, I'll go ahead and I'll let you know what that will look like. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am a pleasure to just be able to have this time with you, even though it's virtual. And I hope that you have many years of wellness ahead of you.